places and doing okay. So.
I mean, nowadays you also seem just more busier than ever. I mean, you've diversified the JR brand, you know, between columns and the one-man show and the podcasting business, and you're still doing commentary. I feel like now, you know, now you're, I don't know if you are, but it seems like you're busier than ever before.
I'm more diverse, for sure. Yeah, it's good to be at my stage of life and you're able to stay as busy as you choose for a variety of reasons. Either you can afford it, or your health is whatever. I'm really lucky. Every gig I do are things I like to do. So I don't sound egocentric. It's just I love calling wrestling. I'd do it full time all the time if I could. But you know, this is really fills the void for me immensely. It's been the best thing for me after the best new gig I have is this one, because I'm back in my wheelhouse. Now the boxing is getting to be kind of fun. I enjoy boxing. That's different, but still a ring and two guys and engaging. So that's kind of neat. But I'm having fun doing it. It's good. Working with Josh is good because it's always good to work with new people. We get a different perspective of things, and I think we're evolving. Okay, you know, you see how the environment is. We're not. You would hear an entirely different rendition if we were in the arenas. That's just on the cards right now. But so we just try to replicate as best we can, so we don't cheat the fans out of the spontaneity and the excitement in a little room, working on big TV.
I totally got that tonight, and when I heard AJ Styles needs the Bullet Club like a turtle needs air brakes, I almost had a heart attack.
We lost it. We lost it in the quarter. That was good.
That's old.
Making a Hallmark card out of it right now.
That's amazing, because I mean, I've listened to you for a long time, and I don't think I've ever heard that one before. But I mean, there are still many years of your career I haven't heard yet as well. So that's pretty amazing.
Hope so. I'm enjoying it. It's fun. It's a good product. If you're a wrestling fan and you don't enjoy New Japan, then you're really not a wrestling fan, because it's kind of the genesis of what the business was about, should be about. Still fundamentally sound. And Josh and I are critiquing. You know, we amateur book after every match. Oh, that was horrible, or that was as good as it could have been. But you know, the guys are taking a lot different. Trends are different.
True.
Way too much out on the outside of the ring. I even watched the Slammiversary on Sunday night, and they were outside all night. So what it does is that when you get to a main event match like the Hardys, having that Full Metal Mayhem match, which is designed to use toys and gimmicks and all these props, and you know they're going to be outside because that's how the match is designed, you should try to limit the preceding matches so it gives them a better stage to perform on, and they didn't do that.
It limits it takes away from the value of having you know, a gimmick match like that put together. It's like, well, then what's the point of having them go outside? Everybody's outside.
Yeah.
It's just, except in this case, it has to do with the match, but no one's paying attention to that.
And we're seeing more and more of that too on the New Japan side. They're going outside a lot, for no reason. For no reason. You know, it used to be there was a logical progression as to why you went outside the ring, or was a logical reason for voluntarily leaving your feet to execute a move. It had logic behind it. And now they're just high spots. And guys don't trust their own wrestling ability to exploit a body part and tell a story, so they go outside and go for the shortcut, sensationalistic, big stunts. And I think that's why you see a lot of guys getting hurt. Wrestlers are taking too many big bumps that are unnecessary, and they're selling very few of them. So it's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy. The injuries in pro wrestling have just begun, because this whole generation of guys, they learn to do a tope or a hurricane rana before they learn how to lock up, because that's their mindset, and that's very short-sighted in my view.
Now, JR, you started all the way back with Bill Watson in UWF, and you've seen the progression in the past 30 years of what wrestling was and what it's become. Do you think with New Japan and Lucha Underground and the current WWE and TNA products that, you know, Jim Cornette complains that there's none of the psychology left, but do you still see some of the storytelling in there?
Yeah, there's some storytelling. You know, Corny's really. I love him, and I'm working with him, and we're going to do a show together in September in Baltimore. Our little Q&A deal. And he's really a brilliant mind, but there are some storytelling remaining. You notice that in this match that we just did today with AJ and Okada, they started off the big flurry, then they settled it down. And now, by settling it down, we were able to tell their story better because they gave us a chance to process. And what wrestlers, I had a wrestler one time, a kid in NXT, in the early days of NXT, wanted me to critique a match. So they said, "What do you think of my match?" And they said something about a spot that he did. I said, "Let me ask you this question. You got the guy in the corner, and you mounted the second rope, and you started punching him. You punched him exactly 10 times, which you knew you were going to do, the crowd knew, so it's predictable. But ironically, you didn't have any DNA. You didn't hurt your hand, you didn't black an eye, you didn't bloody his nose, you didn't bust a lip, nothing. So it tells me you can't throw a punch very good. So you just expose yourself. Secondly, as a broadcaster, which of your 10 punches should I sell? Even or 2, 4, 6, 8, 1, 3, 5, 7, what? So you take all the logic out of it, which is Corny's point, is taking the logic out of it. And I say the same thing. The old days, great wrestlers didn't leave their feet unless they were forced to. Knocked down. Nobody climbed the top rope for the hell of it. And now it's just commonplace. Think about it. It's like Darrell Royal said about throwing a forward pass. Throw a forward pass, 3 things can happen and 2 of them are bad. You can complete it, or you can drop it, or you can get intercepted. 2 of the 3 are bad. So you go up top, it's just all for that sensational spot. Holy shit, or you still got it deal, you know, whatever. This is awesome. And I think we're actually conditioning a whole level of fans that it's not really wrestling anymore for a lot of companies. It's big spots and stunts. And I think that as that goes along, you're going to see the really cool, good wrestlers are going to have a shorter shelf life because their bodies just can't hold up. It's impossible to hold up to that style.
Well, and there's no one out there to teach them how to wrestle. Everybody wants to. We were having a conversation. If you wanted to be a professional wrestler back in the day, you had to go through a ridiculous level of training. They would hold tryouts and they would just beat the living shit out of you and make you go through an insane amount of conditioning elements and strength elements to see what kind of mental fortitude you had. And then they'd stick you in the ring and then they'd just stretch you, submit you, beat the living tar out of you and to see if you had anything. And you know, most of these guys would fail and they'd all walk away going, well, I don't have what it takes to be a wrestler. I'm not tough enough to be one of those guys. So when they go and they tell everybody around them, they don't go, oh yeah, you know, I just went there and I didn't think that this school teaching me bumps and spots. And you know, they kept the business closed off to the regular public to a degree, but they also put in a very high standard of who is going to be allowed to be a wrestler. And nowadays, anybody that is willing to pay the price to go to somebody's, you know, supposed wrestling school can go ahead and go and get in the ring and go out there. Which, you know, how did you earn that right to be a wrestler? You know, you just made wrestling look like, well, you can be a terrible, very unphysical wrestler, or you could be, you know, someone in the WWE. Which is it? You know, and all the same, everybody's a wrestler.
Now, if you get stretched or physically exerted, it's an HR issue. And if you're a female, then it's a gender issue. If you're a person of color, it's a racial issue. That's the world we live in. So it's a tough way. You got to learn. It's like NFL. Well, we're not going to allow the union is going to make sure that the NFL Players Association is not going to let the players have that much contact because it's not good for them.
It's a very
Contact in football.
Yeah.
Hello, what are we talking about here? They're like saying in basketball, look, we don't want you to shoot too many shots in basketball. Don't play any horse. Don't shoot 100 free throws. It's not good for your wrist. It's a long season.
It's a very fine line. I mean, wrestling is not. It is contact. It is physical. Football is physical. Everybody that signs up for football signs a waiver knowing you understand that you could die. I don't think anybody wants anyone to die playing football or to get injured or anything like that. Wrestling either. But I mean, the accepted risk is part of the challenge to be willing enough to go out and do it, and then also why when we watch it, it is exciting to us. If we knew that it was essentially all covered in bubble wrap, no one would really be that excited about it. It would really lose a lot of its effect. And you know, nobody that goes into any of these things is an unwilling participant. Most important.
Now, Josh, you made the reference of the so-called wrestling schools now, and you've been in the ring yourself quite a few times. Do you see it as marks training marks now instead of an actual level of expertise bringing people into the business?
I'm sure that's part of it, but I also know that there are former wrestlers out there that are running schools, and I can't speak on every school and every person, but maybe even they feel the pressure to give the fan experience, so to speak, or what they think that these people are paying for to get it. So if somebody said, well, hey, when am I going to get in the ring? Well, you ain't getting in the ring. You're not getting in the ring anytime soon until you've been here on the mat and you've learned all your fundamentals. That's a right to get in the ring, not a privilege. If that was the case, perhaps the worry is that, well, no one's going to want to do this school because they all want to learn how to do something cool and do all the cool moves that they see their heroes do, and then if I deny that from them, no one's going to want to pay that $500 or $1,000 or whatever it is to run them through that. And these guys are probably thinking, well, I can't afford not to get paid. So, which is, it's understandable. If it's weird when it comes to a skill, finding out, getting somebody to pay you for a skill is quite difficult at times. If you tell someone, it's like, well, hey, I can teach you how to do all these sort of things. I can improve this or that in whatever your game is. Well, okay. Well, I'm not going to do it for free. What's it worth to you? Well, I'll give you $50. Really? You think that my lifetime and the lifetime of all the people that taught me and the lifetime of the people that taught them is worth $50? Well, if you don't value my skill, then I don't value. Then it's really not worth giving it to you.
I'm just curious, how do you guys see because today you got to do an AJ Styles match, so I'm just curious, how do you see the evolution of AJ Styles as a wrestler and a performer, and how I feel like he's taken himself to another level, and I'm very happy for what he's doing in the WWE right now, but I think a lot of it was because of what he was doing in New Japan helped get him to this point as well.
Well, certainly his evolution in New Japan and becoming a multiple-time champion there, top guy of territory, as I say, helped him get him noticed in WWE. Same as it did Nakamura and Gallows and Anderson. They were spotted. They were a great place to scout them. But AJ's elevated his game. AJ was really good at TNA. It's just that TNA never figured out how to make stars. They still don't know how. They're trying. I'm sure the front office is working very diligently, and the talent sure as hell are working hard in a very maligned brand. But they haven't got it yet. But AJ's really good. AJ's probably, in my estimation, I know it's very subjective, he's a top 10 worker in the world. It'd be hard to say that there are 10 better in-ring performers than him. The other thing about AJ is he's not a drunk, he's not a druggie, he's a family man. So one of the things when I was hiring talent, I used to tell people, what are your things you look for? I look for reliability. I don't want somebody that looks great on an 8x10, and I don't know if he's going to come to work tomorrow. Or if he does come to work tomorrow, is he going to be sober, or straight, or in a good mood, or productive? So AJ's just WWE's very, very lucky to have AJ Styles. Of the 4 guys they hired, they're all good, but AJ is the top of the list. And if Nakamura learns to talk a little bit more English and communicate with the North American audience, his in-ring skills are extraordinary. He has charisma. So, but AJ's, I don't know, who does WWE have that's a better in-ring worker than AJ Styles right now? If we say we all can have a different opinion, but
Sure.
It's subjective, right?
It is.
It's very subjective, but he's one of the best.
He is phenomenal,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And sometimes it takes a new environment to bring out a better aspect of yourself, to maybe give inspiration, to make some changes or to find some evolution. And New Japan Pro Wrestling was fantastic for that. He became a harder hitting, more intense athlete by being there. And I think that the best of AJ Styles has been brought out by New Japan. And I think one of the things that people most concerned with was when making that transition from New Japan then to WWE, are they going to allow what is making AJ Styles so damn fantastic? Are they going to stifle that within the construct of the way they want to brand their wrestlers and even their in-ring products. So that was a concern with Nakamura. They sent him to NXT first, which is a bit more open environment. But AJ, I don't watch WWE, or I don't have TV in general, like cable, so I can't watch the product that way. But I've already heard that they've already had AJ use the Styles Clash and someone kick out of it. Like, oh, wow.
Well, that's not unusual though. That's industry wide. We see that every week when we do these voiceovers. Guys kick out of other guys' finishes. It took 3 Rainmakers. What Rainmaker? Yeah. No.
Well, I think it was 1 Rainmaker, but 2 short arm clotheslines. But he hit 1 Rainmaker,
He
spun him,
turned
and
around,
yeah. But even so no one kicks out of the Rainmaker, no one kicks out of the Styles Clash in New Japan. They try and really hold that, because once you break the mystique of that finish hold, it's hard to gather it back up
So
again.
stupid.
So
And it's egocentric. Why they do that? Because the wrestlers' egos are so fragile, and they're so insecure, and they have the leverage with the upper management that they can convince somebody that I need to kick out of 2 of the Undertaker's tombstones so I protect me. So it's all about you. Oh, okay. I thought it was about him because he's going over. And if the announcers are doing their job, you always will take care of the guy doing the honors.
For sure. You got we love to rag on all the heels because we're a neutral announcing team, and we want to make sure that when you watch it that you don't like them either. You might like the way that what they're doing in the ring and whatever, but we want you to feel like, no, they're bad guys. We want you to dislike the bad guys. That's the point, and to highlight and shine the good guys, supposedly. Even still, we make sure that we let you know that the bad guys didn't get here because they're just a bunch of crooks and cronies. They have talent. They have skill. They can go out there and fight it out with anybody. They just chose to align themselves a different way. But nonetheless, everybody that gets into that ring, they need to be shown as having talent, because if they're getting out there getting rolled over and all we do is bury them, well, then who were they? And it doesn't help the guy that won either.
We're of the belief that there's still protagonists and antagonists. Maybe the line of demarcation between the 2 entities is thinner or more obscure than it has been in past years, generations, but it still exists. If not, then why is it such a big deal that the Rams are in L.A.? They're going to be baby faces in L.A. Or if it wasn't a big deal, they just have a team, a LA team, they can play on the road. They go to Washington or go to a college stadium. It's ridiculous to say that, but the point is that the teams that come in here are going to be the heels. Unless they have heel fans from their city or their brand, like the Raiders or the Steelers or somebody like that have more of a universal fan base. But the bottom line is there are still heroes and villains in our life. And I understand that the line is different, but it's not erased. It's still there. It's look a little harder for it, but it's still there. And it's important for us to have heroes and villains. And I think in wrestling, it's part of the foundation of the business to have to some degree. So that's what we try to do. And we try to put everybody over. But we don't put them over at the sake of our own credibility. If their in-ring work sucks, sometimes you just don't say anything. Just lay out, let it, that's pointing out somebody screwed up or the psychology's wrong. And there's a lot of wrestling today. The biggest enemy of wrestling today is ring psychology, and what the younger fans accept as good. And
we'll see stuff, and we do our job sometimes where if it's a small thing, we try to make sure that we give the wrestlers excuses for why that they made a bad choice in the ring sometimes, so that it lays out and it looks correct. So that no one goes, well, if he did why did he just, we try to make sure because we're protecting them too, because no one's perfect, obviously. It's a far cry when there's something that we see it's just too bad. There's just nothing that could be done about it. But then again, at that point, I think it's pretty obvious to everybody.